Welcome back to the channel, and today we are talking perfect workout routines. And when I say perfect, what I mean is perfect for you. I mean one that fits into your lifestyle. I'm going to show you how to create it. I'm going to show you why it works with science so that you feel like this is something that's manageable, something that you can be consistent with, and something that is actually going to drive you forward rather than holding you back. Because so many mums say that time is their limiting factor. It seems to be the biggest barrier to so many of you. And I think a lot of it comes down to thinking that you need a 60-minute workout in a gym. And let's be honest, a 60-minute workout in a gym is not just 60 minutes. You've got to get there. You've got to get back. The next thing you know, it's 90 minutes, nearly 2 hours. And that just feels unmanageable. And when it's unmanageable, you don't start. Or even if you do it once and you do it inconsistently. You'll do one week and then you won't go for another 3. Then you might do another one. And you just seem to be spinning the wheel and not really getting any returns. So today we're going to look at the science, what creates a good workout and what you need to do in order to get results, and how you can then use that to build a workout that fits into your life, how that might look in a time-saving fashion, and what else you need to do in order to make sure that you're getting as much bang for your buck and the best that you can, and how to optimize everything so that you are getting results with the minimal amount of time. So grab a brew because we are going to start on the science bit first. So when I'm talking about science, I'm talking about going back to a meta-analysis by Brad Schoenfeld. So he found that in his meta-analysis, in order to get muscle growth, you needed to hit a muscle group between 10 and 20 times per week. There was no mention about how many times per session, but it was 10 to 20 per week. Now, 20 might seem a lot. You might be like, how am I going to fit that in? That definitely sounds like a 60 to 90 minute workout. The thing is, he said 10 to 20. And the key is to look at that lower end. I hate to break it to you, you're not an Olympic athlete, so you don't need to worry about the top end, and the bottom end is where you get your squeeze. So let's think about a lime. If you were going to cut a lime in half and squeeze it, that first squeeze would produce the most juice, and that is a little bit like your first 10 sets. Then every squeeze after that, the juice diminishes, the return gets less. And that is exactly the same as working out. Therefore, we don't need to necessarily prioritize those higher ends. We're going to get the juice that we need from those lower sets. So 10 to 12 will work just great for you. Since then, there has been more research, and there definitely has been talk about diminished returns, especially the longer you do one muscle group in a workout. Furthermore, there's also been some science by Wood Science, which was conducted with 35-year-olds who were CrossFit athletes with a good training age. Now, when I say training age, it means that they've been training for a long period of time. However, they looked at comparing those that did 3 times a week for 60 to 90 minutes, I think it's around 90 minutes actually, and those that did it for 6 sessions for 45 minutes. The thing was, the 2 groups did exactly the same workload, and their results were minimal in difference. Therefore, it goes to show that shorter workouts are just as good as longer ones, and if not more so, because if you can then stick to shorter workouts throughout your week because it fits more into a life and you're more likely to do it, you're going to get better results. So actually, shorter workouts might be the exact thing you need. And I've got to say, it's something that I've incorporated into my training and I have found works brilliantly, because it just means that I don't have so much guilt. I can fit it in around clubs. I can fit it around the school run. And one day a week, you might want to make a dinner that's a bung in the oven dinner. You know the type I mean, where you can put it in the oven for 30 minutes or on a slow cooker or whatever it might be, but you don't need to watch it. So therefore you could go off, do a 30-minute workout, come back, feed everybody, and bish, bash, bosh. That is the kind of thing I'm talking about. This is what I'm saying. And the reason I'm talking to you about this science is so that you can see that it is justified. You're not making excuses. You're not being lazy. It's gonna fit your life, but it's gonna actually work, because you don't want to put effort in if you don't think it's going to work. If the fitness industry has got you thinking that you have to do 60-minute workouts and you know that that's not feasible, then you're almost like, why bother? It's not for me. I'll just wait until I'm less busy. When in fact, if you did something now and you did little and often, you will get results just as much as those people that are going to the gym for 60, 90 minutes. So now, how do we take that information and put it into real life, into your workouts? How to create a workout from that knowledge. So we know that we need 10 to 12 working sets over a week, but now what? Well, I would suggest that you go for a full body workout. Full body workouts are when you're exercising your whole body with all major muscle groups being used and stimulated in one workout. You're combining exercises that use the upper body and the lower body plus the core in one training session. Now, the benefits of this is that if you then can't do a workout later in the week because something crops up, because let's face it, something's always cropping up, then you haven't missed an entire muscle group. It also works really well for busy schedules, and it allows you to use lots of compound movements that will ultimately help with both functional fitness and cardiovascular fitness. So we've decided we're going to do a full body workout. But what does that look like? So I've created 3 workouts. In these workouts, we have hit the entire body. Now, these sessions aren't gonna set the world alight. They are very basic movement patterns, but they're things that everybody could do at home or in a gym. And within that, you can see that I have identified different muscle groups, or the key muscle groups: quads, hamstrings, glutes, back, chest, shoulders, core, triceps and biceps. And you can see how many of these exercises hit more than one muscle group. Compound exercises are simply multi-joint movements that work several muscles at once. So we can see that we've got lots of those in here, and you can see, for example, our triceps are pink. We're hitting them on the eccentric press-ups, the push press, the kneeling shoulder press, the single arm floor press. So you can see you've hit them 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 times, and that's just in 2 workouts. 3 sets times 5, it's 15. So that is in the optimal range. It's the same with, let's say, glutes. Everyone loves juicy, peachy bum. We got goblet squats, glutes, glute bridges, lunges, Romanian deadlifts, hip thrusts, split squats. Again, hitting them multiple times. But also remember, if something then came up and you missed one of these sessions, you are still hitting them, if not within the optimal sets of 10 to 12, maybe just slightly below. And if you knew that something was coming up and you were only going to be able to train twice that week, you might do 4 sets in the other workouts instead of 3, for example. There's flexibility with these ideas. It doesn't have to be rigid. Now, we've got all these workouts with all these exercises, but what does that actually mean? How is that time saving, Claire? You've got 6 exercises per session. How is that saving me time? Isn't that just going to take me forever? So now let's talk about how to do those workouts in a time effective fashion. So you've got the first choice is to superset. That simply means to put 2 exercises back to back with no rest. The most efficient way is probably to do an upper and a lower if you are doing a full body workout, because then you can rest your upper whilst doing the lower and vice versa. You can always do upper, lower, short rest, upper, lower, short rest, still allowing you to lift heavy. You could also make it into more of a circuit based, for example, having 3 or 4 exercises in a circuit. So doing upper, lower rest, like so. You might get more of a cardiovascular buzz with that because your heart rate will probably remain high doing those exercises. And some people like to do things where it's time sensitive. It means they know that they've got a strict amount of time, something like an EMOM, which means every minute on the minute, and you would do this set amount of reps and then rest the remainder of the minute before moving on to the next exercise. You might do anything from 4 to 6 exercises, and then you'd go back to the beginning doing the 3 to 4 sets. So that's a way that you can make those exercises more time efficient within a time frame, and you can do it so that you know how much time you've got as well. However, there's no reps. Now, as you can see, I've not told you how many reps to do, and that is because the science actually says that there is no set rep range for muscle growth. It used to be highly said that it was 8 to 12, but science has gone on since there, and it can be anything from like up to 30. But again, if we're trying to save time, do we want to be repping out 30 times? Probably not, because it's gonna take a lot of time. And the key to this is that it needs to be hard. But in reality, most people find hard difficult to know. What is hard? What is intensity? How do I know what I should be doing? There are 2 ways you can identify whether something is hard. You can look at reps in reserve, so how many reps is it until I get to failure? Or you can look at RPE, which is rate of perceived exertion. So we talk about something called reps in reserve. That's how many reps we are until we cannot lift anymore. And if you struggle and can't lift anymore, then you've gone to failure. And then you might think, actually, I probably could do 2 more reps until I've gone to failure. But at the very beginning, as a newbie, that can be quite hard to judge and be quite difficult to know, and a little bit scary at times. You're like, do I really want to push that? I don't want to hurt myself. And it can be a challenge to know what that feels like. So another way to do it is something called RPE, which is rate of perceived exertion. That means is how hard it feels at that time. And for us ladies, sometimes our rate of perceived exertion will change varying on the month, how tired we are, all those things. So it might change from session to session, but it gives you an idea of how difficult it is. And the scale usually runs from 0 to 10, or 1 being, I'm lead on the lounger. Oh, I might need to do a little crunch to sit up. I might twist, extend my arm, a little bicep curl as I bring my margarita to my mouth. As you can see, not much exertion at all. Or it could be 10. It might be like you've done several rounds in a boxing ring and are flat on your back, wondering and questioning your life choices. So what we would want is around 7 to 8. That kind of feeling like I've worked really hard, and if I work much harder, I may not be able to actually leave the gym. So you've got enough in the tank to still be mum, human, and do things, but equally you feel like you might need 5 minutes just to bring yourself together, kind of rest kind of thing. So if you want to go above a rate of 7 to 8 and you go for an 8 to 9, is that you have got good quality rest and recovery. You're recovering from your sessions, you're ticking the boxes from your nutrition, and you're feeling good, okay? And that will kind of dictate your weight and the rep range that you are using. Obviously, if you are trying to lift heavier, you might need less reps. And then sometimes what you might need to do is try to lift, let's use 8 kilo weight, and you're doing it and it's now got easy. But when you pick up the 10 feels so hard, but you could only do 6 reps. That is fine. Even if you could only do it for 2 sets and then you have to go back down to the 8, that is progress. So that's kind of trying to understand that progress will happen over time as long as you're slowly making those little incremental changes. And progress might look different week to week. It might be better quality movement. It might be more reps or more weight. So it all plays a part in creating this program. And it might seem like, Claire, I don't really understand how you've helped me here. I'm just showing you ways in order to take the exercises and put it into a system that will work for you. And if you're still finding that hard, there is my program Stronger, which is personalized training. It's not generic, it's created around you, but it's just training based, it's budget friendly, it's designed to take the bandwidth out of exercise and to make it as simple as possible. As well as having a plan A, we often have a plan B as well for those weeks where it goes a little chaotic. So, practically, what are the takeaways from this episode? 1, 8 to 15 sets per muscle group is going to be fine and dandy, although 10 to 12 is probably optimal for you. These sessions can be spread between 2 and probably 4 or 5 sessions a week, depending on your time availability, and 20 to 40 minutes is more than enough time. Yes, the gym is the gold standard, but working out at home is absolutely fine. Although I would suggest getting adjustable dumbbells so that you can increase those weights and create some progressive overload without having to keep buying new dumbbells. You can get cheap options in different places like Argos, Facebook Marketplace, some supermarkets, wherever it may be. Have a look around, and the key to remember is that consistency is going to win through. Choose a workout program that allows you to keep on doing it. That doesn't mean you have perfect weeks. It doesn't mean that every week is going to see 3 to 4 workouts of 20 minutes. But as long as you do it enough and consistently enough, you will see results. Even if one week is 2 workouts and the next week is 3 and then the next week's 2 again and then the next week's 4, that is better than just doing 1 and then none. Or not even getting started, because the idea is too overwhelming. I hope you found this useful. If you have any questions, pop them in the comments below. I will happily answer those. And if you haven't already, do this girl a favour and subscribe.